Hello, students. Welcome to Gyanvia School of Education. I'm Dr. Sonia Korbansal, and today I will be teaching you role of a teacher in teaching learning process in the subject pedagogy of a school subject English. So, students, let's start learning. And today's learning objective would be related to understanding of role of teacher in various responsibilities and functions, how a teacher plays an important role. So try to understand, students, and I hope all of you will listen attentively and grasp the concept in a very clear way. So let's start, students. So, students, first of all, in an introduction, I would like to say the teacher is the one who plans the learning process. Actually, students, it has to be understood that teacher is someone who has changed his or her role in the due course of time. So, when we are talking about teachers, so teacher is something that used to be very simple before, but nowadays a teacher is something else. So a teacher in the past time, when we are talking about, so teacher was seen as a lecturer or someone who delivered knowledge and conducted test. A teacher was really perceived as someone who had answers to every question possible. He used to be considered as a gatekeeper of all the resources and information too. But a decade ago, the teachers' responsibilities have changed a lot. So teachers were responsible earlier for delivering the information, but that was all before the introduction of internet and digital media. So information is now easy to access for many students, and the ocean of data is before us with just a few keystrokes away. So now the question is, what would be the role of a teacher if they are no longer the source of gatekeeper or information? So this is really very important to understand, to figure out the role of a teacher. So let's understand in a very detailed process that what is the role of a teacher. And the teacher is the one who plans the learning process. Teacher manages, partner in his educational work, and in some time valuable for skills and knowledgeable for students. The teacher education work is based on sincerity, passion, love to students, but also in practice the profession. So teaching is the distinctively human activity. It is important to understand that one person is delivering the information to another person. So this is entirely a human activity. It is not like that something is missing here. It is like that something is being dealt within the human beings. So it has to be really in consideration that how the teacher imparts the knowledge and in the learning process, the by means which the student assimilates share of it. So it is also concerned with growth and development of whole personality of the student, her mind, spirit, character, and effective behavior. So it's really important to understand the teacher's role in teaching learning process. So, in teaching and learning work, the teacher has a rather very important role in creating the sciences that are taught to be accepted by existing students. So, not only does it play a role in educating the sciences, but there also is not a little role for the teacher in the teaching learning process. Teacher is the one who is giving the information to the students. So when it comes to the part of teacher has a very significant role. So whatever will be accepted by the student, it has to be created in such a scientific way that is not only giving the correct information, but also it is useful for the society also. So that's why teachers role is really very important. So we have seen that education has changed a lot in recent times, and especially when we are talking about pandemic situation. So the whole education industry has changed its whole scenario. Moreover, it is more interactive now. Earlier, it used to be in ancient times, it used to be teacher centered. But now it is not like that. It has now become student centered. So it's more interactive now with the intrusion of digital media as well. The new age technology like artificial intelligence, augmented reality are opening a new dimension in education. But students, there is a large role that the teacher has to play here. They are no more seen as the only keeper of information now. Information is already shared, and students have chewed them and digested them. So, what is left now if the information is already available to them? But teacher has its own important role. So let's understand it in a defining way also. So there is a definition: a teacher is a person who selects and organizes teaching learning methods, consciously planning and controlling a situation directed to the achievement of optimum student learning. Yes, here we talk about the optimum student learning, and it is only possible when the teacher is carefully selecting and organizing the teaching learning material, methods, and the teacher is carefully planning and controlling the situation in which the learner will be taught. So everything is up to the teacher, how the teacher is controlling the classroom situation, how the teacher is adopting new methods, new ways of teaching. So everything is up to the teacher. So we cannot deny the role of the teacher in teaching learning process. So students, by learning you will teach, by teaching you will learn. This is a Latin proverb and it's really very important. I repeat, by learning you will teach, by teaching you will learn. So it is as well important for the teachers to keep learning all the time. Now let's have a look on the characteristics of a teacher one by one, and we are going to discuss them in detail. First of all, a teacher must have thorough knowledge of her subject matter. Yes, it's a really very important thing for any teacher. Whatever the subject is teacher teaching, teacher must be very thorough with the content of the subject, because the students feel that the teacher is ideal and whatever the teacher is telling them is supposed to be correct. So if the teacher is teaching them, so there may be many curiosities, there may be many questions. So the teacher has to have a full command over the subject matter so that he or she is answerable to the students at any time. And moreover, it increases the personal efficiency of the teacher also if the teacher is well versed with the content of his own subject. So it's really very important to be thorough with the knowledge of a subject matter. Second characteristic that is related to the teachers, that is excellent speech. Yes, dear students, it is very important to be expressive for the teacher. Just imagine, students, the teacher is not able to deliver a proper speech, proper lecture in the classroom. Would you really imagine to study from that teacher? Of course not. So, excellent speech is something which actually affects the mind of the learner, and whatever you intend to tell them, they are ready to accept. They are actually thinking what you are going to deliver them. So, your speech, your tone, your confidence really matters a lot in the classroom when you will be teaching in the classroom. So excellent speech is a very fine characteristic of a teacher. The teacher must use the words in a very nice way. Then neatness and poise. Yes, untidy teacher is not liked by any of us. So neatness is something that is grooming the personality. So teacher must be very presentable in the classroom. Because if the teacher is not following such small things, the students will be really distracted. And whatever the content you are teaching, maybe you are thorough with your knowledge, but you are not presentable, you are not neat and clean in your presentation. So that will actually create a hinder in your teaching learning process. Next thing that's really very important, sense of humor. When the teacher is teaching in a continuous lecture method, so sometimes it happens that students are feeling boredom due to monotonous style of lecture method. But in between, if the teacher is expressing some humorous part, so that's really very appreciated because it keeps refreshing students' mind as well as teachers' mind. So sense of humor is really required from a teacher. So next is broad interest. The first and foremost thing about a teacher that is really very important, that is interest in teaching. You cannot imagine a teacher students who is not at all interested in teaching work. So great characteristic lies down in this point that teacher must be interested in teaching, interested in the subject, whatever the teacher is teaching. So there should be a proper balance in that. So teacher must have the interest in students. She or he must feel belongingness with the students. So teacher must develop this interest. Now, well balanced personality. Yes, of course, teachers must possess well balanced personality. Teachers must know how to control the emotions, how to control the situations, how to handle the different types of students, different IQ students. You have to handle the intelligent students, brilliant students, extraordinary students, and on the same way, you have to handle the average students, slow learners, or low IQ students also. So, in that way, a well balanced personality is something that is required. So, teacher should not be very much extrovert or not very introvert in nature. So, its ambivert type is really appreciated. Next point is about professional well groomed. When the teaching profession is imagined, so it is thought that writing on the board, giving the task to the students, and that's the task of teacher. No, it's not like that, my dear students. Nowadays, teaching profession has come up to various changes, and professionally well groomed teachers are really required nowadays to meet up the current challenges. So, if you are well versed with new technologies, new faculty development programs which are going on in current situations, so you are well groomed teacher, and it's really very required from the part of the teacher. The next important characteristic is about tolerant and fair without partiality. It is really very important to understand each and every student in your classroom. If you are tolerant enough, if you are fair enough, then your students are really going to respect you and they will be learning from you what you want to teach them. So, tolerant and fair are the characteristics which is very important from the point of view of teachers. When the students feel that teacher is biased or somehow the teacher is not giving me marks for and teacher is just favoring another students, in that condition the student loses its interest in learning. So that's not good for a teacher also. So be away from partiality and always be tolerant and fair towards the students. So that's a characteristic of a good teacher. Then another important thing that must be possessed by the teacher, that is kind and patient behavior. In the classroom, teacher has to deal with many students, and many students are having individual differences, and the teacher is the one who is caring and taking responsibilities of all the teachers. So the teacher should be tolerant as well as kind and patient enough to deal with all the students. So it's really very important. The next thing is about clear exposition of subject matter. Whatever the subject teacher is teaching, it must have clear exposition. That means it should be detailed exposed to the teacher. Each and every point must be sought through in a very detailed manner. Reference books must be seen. Any important source of information must be collected. So, this is how the teacher is going to teach in a brilliant way in the classroom if the teacher is having clear exposition of the subject matter. The next thing is about ever loving nature. Yes, it's about ever loving nature. If the teacher is loving the nature, teacher is definitely going to teach the students in a loving way. So nature lover teacher is really appreciated. There are many topics when the teacher is teaching in the real environment also. So when the teacher is respecting, loving the nature, the same values the teacher is going to inculcate among the students as well. So it's really very important. Then good communicator. Whatever you want to tell your students, you must communicate it in a very proper way, without any confusion, without any misunderstandings. So it should be cleared from the point of view of teacher. Assignments must be clear. Projects must be cleared. Explanation must be clear. So this is how it is very important. Keen observer, supporter, and listener. Yes, a good teacher must be keen observer, because observation will lead to the solution of many indirect problems. So if the teacher is a good observer, then the teacher is definitely going to solve the minute classroom problems as well. And the supporter for the students and listener as well, what the students are going to tell you, you must listen it properly. Then leadership ability as well as a deeper knowledge. Yes, the teacher does the work of a leader of the students in the classroom. So the teacher must possess that ability. Teacher must follow the planning, organizing, leading, controlling factor in the classroom so that he or she can well control the class in our effective leadership. Then interest in students. This is really very important point, that if a teacher is having interest in his or her students, then half of the battle is win, because whatever the content the teacher is supposed to teach to the students, and if the teacher is not interested in students likes, dislikes, and nature, individual differences, so it is really going to create a little difficulty, or maybe it is very difficult for the teacher, any teacher, to deliver the content in the classroom. So these are the important characteristics of a teacher that I have told you just now, students. So take care of them in your career as well when you will be becoming teacher. Now let's discuss about roles of a teacher. So we are going to discuss the roles of teachers in three important ways. First of all, instructional role. Secondly, faculty role. Then individual role. So, instructional, faculty, and individual roles are different roles which are actually accomplished by a teacher. So, let's have a look on them one by one. First of all, instructional role. So, In instructional role, as its name is suggesting, you have to do something related to the instructions. So instructions will be given or planned in or organizing the courses. Then it can be also done creating and maintain a desirable group which will encourage and enhance learning, and it will lead to the development of learners self discipline. So this is really very important from instructional point of view, and as well adapt teaching and preparing the instructional materials to the varying interest, needs and abilities of the students. As a teacher, you must know that there are various type of students in your classroom. So whatever the instructional materials you are using, teaching materials you are using, must be meet out with the interest, needs and abilities, mental level of the students. It should not go beyond that. Then next is motivating the challenging students to pursue and to sustain learning activities. It's really a very difficult one who are the challenging students, and you have to teach them with other students as well. And it will lead them towards acceptance of responsibility of their own learning. So it's a teacher's task that the teacher is making them acceptable for the responsibilities of their own learning. So this is how it is really very important. Now let's discuss, students, about faculty role. What is faculty role and what how it is done? So we are going to understand it in a very brief way. So faculty's role is something that is the role of faculty vary according to philosophy, objectives and settings of teaching institutions. So this is very important, students, from the point of view. The role of faculty vary according to the philosophy which set and objectives and setting of the any teaching institution. So chairperson, secretary or member or one or more committees, counselor of students in matters, researchers, re- resource person to group outside at the institution, health agencies and other schools. So these are something that done by the faculties, so in their own philosophy. Now let's discuss about individual role. That plays a important personal role as a member of the family, a community and a citizen, dignified and distinct personality. So in an individual role, teacher plays an important role also. So this is how teacher's role is elaborated in a very clear way. Student contact, medical expertise, student at a distance, teacher's expertise. So teacher is working as a facilitator, role model, information provider, resource developer, planner, assessor. So how the teacher role is defined as a facilitator, that teacher is working as a mentor and learning facilitator. Then role model, on the job role model, as a working as a teacher, teaching role model. Then information provided by giving lectures or any practical information. So resource developer, he is working as a study guide producer, resource material creator also. So this is how teacher is working in different roles. And planner, the teacher is planning the curriculum and the course. And then assessor, teacher is assessing students as well as curriculum. So this is how teacher's role is defined in various roles and activities. So let's understand, students, one by one and in more detail. Now we are going to discuss about professional responsibilities of any teacher. So the following statement of professional responsibilities must be adhered to by all teachers. In carrying out their duties and responsibilities, all teachers must be cautious of their special duty of care to the students of the public education system, in all educational activities in and out of school. And teacher must really demonstrate the highest standards of professional behavior, exercise professional judgment, and act in a courteous and sensitive manner when interacting with students, parents, and caregivers, staff, and the public. So, this is how professional responsibilities are also taken up by a teacher, and teacher does it in a beautiful way, and the teacher performs the special duty for the students' welfare all the time. Teachers also collaborate in the development of school plans, policies, and programs, devise and document teaching and learning programs, and develop and implement appropriate evaluation mechanism. So this is how teacher is planning in a professional way also. Then teacher must treat students equitably, including those with disabilities in the classroom or other special needs. And teacher must meet the individual learning needs of the students and assist each students to maximize his or her learning outcomes in the classroom. So it's really effectively manageable and implement programs for child protection and student welfare. That's really very much needed for the teacher's point of view. Then teacher must undertake appropriate ongoing professional development to promote competence in curriculum development, delivery and evaluation, classroom management, and teaching skills. It's really very important, students, that teacher must go through professional development all the time. And teacher must not stagnant with the knowledge and exposure at one place at one time. So it's an ongoing process. And moreover, the teacher actually does the professional development to promote his or her own competency in the subject matter or in the process of curriculum development, or how it is going to be delivered in the classroom or in the activities or in any kind of information that we are going to deliver to the students. And in addition, it is also helpful if the teacher is taking care of professional competencies. It will helpful in evaluating the students, and it will also be helpful in management of the classroom situations, and it will actually enhance the teaching skills of the teachers. So professional responsibilities are really a lot from the point of view of teacher. Then next thing is about comply with legislative and industrial requirements and the department's code of conduct. Policies including the use of employer communication devices and procedures. So this is how responsibilities of the teachers are really very high, and teacher must possess it in a very sincere way and professional way. Now it is also expected from a teacher in to have the professional responsibilities, and to carry out this, teacher has to be familiar with the provision of legislation relevant to their official responsibilities as well. Teacher must comply with reasonable direction given by a supervisor or principal and adhere to official guidelines concerning the performance of their duties. So it must be done by the teachers. Then teacher must also implement the priorities of the department. Whatever the priorities are there, teacher must go in that way only. And the school and they ensure their professional actions reflect government and departmental policies. Whatever the set norms are there according to government or according to own private institutions, teacher must go accordingly, and accordingly the teacher must give the knowledge to the students in a best possible way. So, to just make it out possible, be fair in exercising the delegating responsibilities and promote professional personal development of staff. So, personal grooming is needed, and as well, development of staff is needed time to time, because we all know teaching learning process is a continuous process, and where there is learning there is definitely a teaching also. Few things are learned by the pupil by them own, but when the teacher is teaching, and if it is really desired to be converted into learning, then teacher must be well up to dated, exposed with the new content, new updation in the content. So professional development must be done time to time. Then teacher must perform their duties efficiently and effectively. That must cover the important values that are honesty, integrity, and fairness at all times. So this is really desired from a teacher to be honest in his teaching, as well as classroom managing system, and then evaluation process, because these are the things, students, that students as well as parents and management expects from a good teacher: to be honest, integrate, and to possess fairness for all the students at all time. I hope you have understood this much, so I'm proceeding further. And then teacher must ensure that decisions are made fairly and conveyed promptly, both with the department and to those students and members of the public who have a right to know about the current thing. So use information gained in the course of employment only for proper and appropriate purposes. As well, teacher must use public resources economically. The teacher must not be extravagant. As I have told you, the characteristic of a teacher, that teacher must be nature lover. So if it is in the case of using pages, so teacher is understanding that how the pages are got by cutting the trees. So anything that teacher is doing must be done in a very thoughtful process. Whatever the things are being used, and if it is related to public resources, that must also be used in a wise way. Now, students, let's understand the functions of a teacher. And I hope you are really going to enjoy listening to the functions of teacher. First of all, the important function of a teacher, that is explaining and informing. This is very, very important function of any teacher. Without this, we cannot imagine a teacher. If the teacher is not explaining and not informing anything you, then do you really think that we can call that particular person a teacher? So, if the good teacher is expected to be well informed in the areas in which he or she teaches, so the teacher is expected to be able to communicate information needed for background, enrichment, and motivation, and on many occasions to explain relationship of children. So teacher must actually possess these qualities, must be possessing very excellent speech, how to explain any content. Teacher must actually pre-plan it, how the teacher is going to inform the students about a particular message or a content, anything. So teacher must do it. Then second thing, initiating, directing, and administering. So one of the most important functions of teaching is concerned with initiating. Teacher must be proactive in doing some things, because teacher is full responsible of this responsibilities of the students that he or she is teaching. And teacher is really concerned with initiating, organizing, and directing and making decisions on in either it is in the classroom, playground, assembly hall, or anywhere in the school, college, or secondary education, higher secondary education, at any level. These are the qualities or the functions of the teacher that really must be possessed. From morning till evening, the teacher faces and handles many problems. Many students are approaching to the teacher and they are telling the teacher about various difficulties. And if the teacher is not of this nature, that teacher doesn't initiate or direct or administer on anything, then definitely the students are facing lot of problem. So if the teacher is actually willing to solve the problems from morning to evening, then it is required to be initiative, directive, and administration also in the nature. So these are the important thing: explaining and informing, secondly initiating, directing, and administrating. Now next is unifying the group. How unifying the group? So in the beginning of first session, our teacher is confronted with a number of children who are not unified. As I have told you, students, that they possess the individual differences. But when you are teaching them, you have to establish something on a very clear platform that you are teaching them. So as they live together, they become a unified group. And how it is possible? How you are creating some group of students in a unifying group? So you are putting them in a one classroom, one section, and you are applying some set rules, uniforms, and anything else which is required from your content also. The same thing they are learning. So this is an important task to develop a group spirit within the group. So this is how the teacher's function becomes more important. The teacher is actually whole and soul responsible in the classroom to develop the group feeling, not the alone feeling. And if the students are learning something in group, if they are doing something in a group, then definitely students, believe me, that their learnings will be excellent, and the teachers hard work will also be paid. So unifying the group is really very important from the point of view of teachers functions. Next is students giving security. Yes, it is always said that school is the home away from home. And a mother is found, or a mother instinct is found from the school. When a parent is actually dropping a toddler in the school, the parent is expecting that my sort of caring and secure atmosphere will be provided to my child in the school also. And here the teacher's function and responsibility becomes very important, because many children are in need of warmth, recognition, praise, and friendly atmosphere. Students really learn well if they are kept in warm atmosphere, friendly atmosphere. So there are children who feel a sense of loneliness, isolation, rejection, and economic insecurities at home, or maybe in the little less amount in school also. But the teacher should identify the needs of students. It is the charismatic effect of teacher that any student overcomes his or her insecurities and start doing the best in his studies. So giving security becomes a very important task of the teacher in the classroom. So a good teacher must identify the needs of the students and must work accordingly. All right, students. Now, fifth important function that we are going to understand, that is about clarifying attitude, belief, and problems. So, how it is going to work? Many students are confused by social influences and looking at so many different ways of living on TV, radio, movie, and reading materials, etc., which introduce new and unusual ideas. So the teacher should clarify the doubts and creates opportunities for children to state their attitudes, interests, and problems. So to talk about their purposes and interests and aspirations. So this is how it is working. So teacher must clarify attitude of the students, beliefs and problems of the students. So must have this type of attitude. So teachers should clarify the doubts of the students, whatever they are having. There are many students who are actually hesitant in asking their doubts, in asking their queries to the teacher due to their introvert nature, or maybe their personality is like that. But a good teacher must create opportunities in the classroom so that students can be very comfortable in asking anything from the teacher related to the content. And teacher must actually develop the interest among the students to study that particular content. So teacher must talk about the purpose of teaching and why the students have to build up their interest and aspiration. That must be clarified by the teacher in the beginning of the content. Only then the teaching learning process will be very effective and it will be efficient from the part of teacher. All right, students. Now, next is diagnosing learning problems. It is not like that, students, that the teacher is going to teach and his or her work is finished. Maybe there are some children in every class who do not make expected progress in their studies, growth, and development, what we expect from them to show. So, a good teacher must diagnose the learning problems of individual students. And not only diagnosing is enough, the teacher must also suggest the possible solutions of overcoming those problems. And these all activities are done, these all process is done by the teachers just for the sake of giving good learning environment, give or enhancing their learning capacities to learn any content or any subject matter. So this is really very important function of a teacher. Now students, next is about making curriculum material. So curriculum plays an important role, students. It plays an important role in the course. The teacher should modify the curriculum in accordance with the need of group and the local community. So it should be constructed by keeping the needs of the local community and contemporary situations. Only then it will be more beneficial for the students as well as society's point of view. Now, next is about evaluating, recording, and reporting. Yes, it's an important task. The teacher has to evaluate the progress of the class as a whole and individual students. And for this, the teacher is going to take many tests. Maybe it is in written form or oral form. And the teacher is definitely going to take some periodical examination like term exams, semester exams. So the teacher has to prepare a detailed report, cumulative report of students' progress and individual report as well. Teacher must grade students' behavior, record students' behavior, and must give proper suggestions and reportings to the students, principals, as well as parents. So this is really very time-taking, tedious, attentive work that is done by the teacher. Now, arranging and organizing classroom. Yes, it is really very skillful task that is done by the teacher. So it is important responsibility of a teacher to make a classroom a beautiful place for learning. It must be hygienic, fully ventilated, and sitting arrangement should be very flexible and should be changed. So it should be changed. The classroom environment must also be changed by maybe by decorating the boards or maybe decorating the walls according to the different occasions. So it should be appealing to the students, that students must feel craving of going to the classroom and studying there. All right, students. Now, next is participating in the school activities. So, the teacher should participate in other school activities in addition to his routines teaching assignment. These may include picnics, games, organizing some shows, etc. So, not only teaching is sufficient, organizing activities is as well very important from the part of teacher. Then participating in professional life. Every teacher is expected to enter wholly into professional life and to make his contribution to the improvement of the profession. This is how teacher must develop his or her own professional life also. So, in the summary form, students, we have learned today how is teacher very important, significant in today's era where the artificial intelligence is more and more in need. We have studied about the definition of teacher, characteristics of teacher, roles of a teacher, and professional responsibilities we have seen. And along with this, we have seen the functions of a teacher. And I hope you have really understood about them in a detailed way. And I really hope that these important things, what I have taught you today, you will include in your teaching learning process as well. So now it's quiz time, and let's see some questions here. So first question is about, you want to ensure participation of more students in class. Which of the following method of teaching would you adopt? Demonstration, discussion, recitation, or role play? So the correct answer is discussion. All right, students. Second question, to make learning effective, a goal must be meaningful in terms. So objective of the curriculum, intellectual ideas, standards of others, the need and purposes of students. So the correct answer is students' need and purposes. The next question is, which of the following items of information are important about students to motivate them for studies? Learning style, personality, socio-cultural background, all of the above. So the correct answer is all of the above. Because the learning styles in education are the systematic differences in individuals' natural or habitual patterns of acquiring and processing information in learning situations. So, openness, carefulness, agreeableness are some of the personality traits here. The next question is about dash is the process in which you identify the common aspects or basic relationship in a variety of specific solutions or situations. So that is abstraction, generalization, problem solving, or reasoning. So the correct answer is generalization. So generalization of a concept is an extension of the concept to less specific criteria. It is foundational element of logic and human reasoning. So students, this was all about the role of teaching learning process. Now, these are some references, students, that you can go through later on when you listen my video. So you will enhance your learning in a more careful way. So students, I hope you have understood the concept of role of teacher in a teaching learning process. And I really believe that all of you will include such important things, which is really important from the point of view of a teacher in your teaching learning process. So we have come to the end of the class, and I really hope that you have enjoyed a lot through this video. So see you in the next class, students. So till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. Thank you, students.